5:30, I would like to call to order the Shenandoah County School Board meeting, and particular session will be the closed session. Do I have a recommendation for meeting in closed session?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I recommend that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14, and to discuss scholastic records involving the discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters concerning any student of any state school system under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2 and pursuant to the provisions of the Virginia Code 2.2-3711A29 to discuss the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14, and to discuss scholastic records involving the discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters concerning any student of any state school system under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2 and pursuant to the provisions of 1 Virginia Code 2.2-3711A29 to discuss the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body.
Thank you, Mr. Gautron, for that motion. A second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vance. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. We will meet in closed session with the goal of returning here at 6 p.m. I would like to reconvene the Shenandoah County School Board meeting. We had closed session, now we're going to reconvene in open session at 6:13. And I would like to have a motion to reconvene in open session.
I move to reconvene in open session.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Street. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. So let me read the statement of our closed meeting certification. The Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member responds, "I so certify," when called. Cheryl?
Mr. Street,
I so certify.
Ms. Carlenia,
I so certify.
Mr. Gutschall,
I so certify.
Mr. Vance,
I so certify.
Mr. Ricker,
I so certify.
and Mr. Bartlett.
I so certify. Thank you, Cheryl. We begin a new cycle of our invocations at the beginning of the new year, and from the first district, that would be me. And so I'm going to ask you to join with me in an opening prayer. Father, we do thank you for this time together. We thank you for this great county and this wonderful country of ours. We thank you especially for a wonderful teaching educational environment that we have. We thank you for the teachers in the front line, but we also thank you for everybody else that contributes, the drivers, the food service folks, maintenance, healthcare workers or nurses, the service support specialists, the central staff. What a team. What a team that we have, and we're so thankful for every group that works together and with each other and uplifting one another. We thank you, Father, for the ability to meet in a free country and to discuss these things. We pray for civility, common sense, and discernment as we make decisions based on what is right for our goal here, which is the education, academic achievement, and whole person health of our students in this county. We pray that your Spirit be with us and among us this evening as we discuss these things, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Please join me in our pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as it has been presented to us?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Rickard. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the agenda as it has been presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None? Thank you. And we're moving on to recognitions. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you. The Shenandoah County Chamber of Commerce, in collaboration with the school division, coordinated the Student Leadership Shenandoah County program to encourage students to develop and implement their leadership skills in their schools and community. The Student Leadership Program aims to give young people the knowledge, tools, and contacts to create successful leaders and instill and nurture a sense of civic responsibility. This program offers a forum for our young learners to express their goals and to explore Shenandoah County's government, businesses, and community. At tonight's meeting, students who completed the Student Leadership Shenandoah County program this past summer will discuss the variety of experiences they've had in the program, and I would like to introduce Ms. Sharon Barangelli, who is the Director of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shepard, and I'm going to turn it over to our facilitator for this year's, being our fourth collaboration with the school system for the Student Leadership Program, Mr. Cookman.
I'm Kyle Coconut. I'm an English teacher at Stonewall Jackson. This year I had the opportunity to be the facilitator for our student leadership week. And so the week for our students, I think it's a 8-month program. For the adults, they kind of boil it down to a week for rising juniors and seniors. And so for that week for us, we went a couple different places. We went to, had a day for the healthcare in our county. We did local businesses. We did some local agriculture. Got a chance to go see some of our local government and talk to those people in our local government. And had a week where we introduced students to multiple aspects of our county. I will say for me personally, I've grown up in Shenandoah County my whole life. And during that week, got to see a lot of things I didn't even know went on in our county. So I think it's really impactful for our high school students to be able to see that early. I wish I had gotten to see some of that earlier myself. And the leadership they'll be able to take with that is, I think, going to serve our county very well by learning that stuff early on. So I would like to go ahead and turn it over to these ladies.
Hi, my name is Anna Bible. I was a student at the leadership program this summer. It was really impactful to see what all the people in the community do. I didn't know most of it myself. And it was also beneficial because all 3 campuses and even homeschool students get to come together and we get to collaborate and learn different leadership tactics throughout the whole week. We explored many different places, like he just said, like healthcare, government, and a lot of it took a lot of critical thinking that I wasn't necessarily wanting to get into during my summer, but it was overall a great experience, and to see all the hard work and dedication each member of the community puts into either their business or their job is very amazing.
I'm Addison Sylvius. I was also a student at the leadership program that we had over the summer. It was something. It was definitely different. It was very nice to be able to get with everybody from different campuses, the people that I didn't even know, and kind of learn about their life, their background, and what brought them to this program. Not only does it form different relationships throughout the kids that are in the program, it also helps with your thinking on your aspect of life and what you deal with in every day and what somebody else could deal with in an every day, because not everybody that was in the program was all from different backgrounds, and to me that's something that I want to know about. And so when we did a nonprofit, and that was something that really intrigued I think everybody that was in our group. But I will say our group was kind of quiet, and I'm not very quiet, me and Anna were. So we did a lot of the talking, we did a lot of the questions. We asked a lot of questions, we answered a lot of questions. So it definitely helps if you have a vocal group doing it at one time. And I think the way that our school got it out to our students, it was through flyers, and our principal at the time actually kind of tracked some different people down and different teachers down to see what students they think would be beneficial to this program. And I think that really helped. There was no one from Stonewall or no one from Strasburg. No, it was Stonewall. Nobody got there from Stonewall, but it was really cool to have some homeschool students that you wouldn't really think that would be there. So yeah, it was very awesome. We loved it. I don't think there was a single bad thing anybody said about it.
Yeah, we'd like to thank the school board for allowing us to do it during the summer, and also the chamber. Like Addison said, bringing everyone together was great, and we would encourage other people to take it. It's a week long in the summer, and I know most kids won't want to spend their summer, but it's a great opportunity just to prepare yourself better for the future and see what everyone in the community does.
The chamber, get you to use the microphone.
The chamber started the leadership program 8 years ago. And that first class came back and said, we really need to take this program to the students. So emulating, as Coach said, over an 8-month with adults, we are cramming in 1 week for students. So it's a lot. And I loved when we hear the parents say that what did you do? They come home and they're exhausted as we are keeping up with them. But just to see the change, this happens to be one of the best programs we have that the chamber coordinates, and we can only do it with the collaboration and the support from Dr. Shepard in the school system and Dr. Heingardner. Many of them have been leadership graduates themselves. So seeing the students and the quality of students we have, this has been our 4th class. It is just wonderful. They come in on a Monday, which they share during the summer. Not happy at all to be there. We start early each day of the week, and by Tuesday, Wednesday, they're taking charge and really excited. And it's amazing for those who are born and raised here, the amount of information that they're seeing behind the scenes that takes place in running our county. And we hope the whole point of our leadership, not only the adult and students, is to raise our future leaders and have them come and raise their families here and start a business here. So it's a very important program. We love it. We hope you all will continue to support it, and we get to meet as many quality students as we have in the past 4 years. It was a wonderful group, and these folks are going to go far, and we expect them to go far here in their county. So thank you again.
How many students do you get every summer?
We've had 12. We've had
12.
averaged 12. Yes. And this was the first year, very first year, there was not representation from Strasburg, and then last year was the first time we didn't have representation from Stonewall. But it is a application process. It's open and we'll take up to 10 for each campus, and rising juniors and seniors. We may limit the 10. We pulled back on the groups. It's hard to take them in when we go to a Bowman Andros or Mercury paper to have a large group. Plus it gives them a better opportunity to get to know each other in smaller groups too.
Sounds good.
When are those applications accepted?
We will be submitting, I need to get those to Dr. Heingardner next week. They will go out to the system, throughout the system, and they are due March 1st.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, thank you. We love it. The business community loves it.
That's great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, girls.
Thank you.
That's all right, Becky.
That is it.
All right, we had scheduled 2 different sections here for a public comment. One was to be dedicated to public input on the budget specifically, and so we had that scheduled separately. But as of this moment, we have had no speakers sign up for public input on budget. Unless there is somebody who wants to speak to that topic, we will move to the next public input on other agenda or non-agenda items. And I have 2 names from people who have signed up here. Is that correct?
We do have 2 for pre-budget. Yes. You're good. No, you're good.
Okay. So for, again, this is for agenda and non-agenda items. And the first speaker is Ann Wine-King.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Becky?
Good evening, members of the school board, Dr. Shepard, and citizens of Shenandoah County. On October 10th, 2024, I presented to the members of the board images of structural conditions and building concerns of Sandy Hook Elementary. Since that meeting, some of those concerns have received the attention of the Virginia Department of Labor and Industry, the Virginia Occupational Safety and Health, local news, Shenandoah County Public School employees, and concerned parents in our community. Due to the negative attention, action has been taken to begin the process of addressing necessary repairs. However, what may be even the more concerning issue is that all of these things presented in that October meeting were already known by the central office. The majority of the items presented have dated back several months and even years. My question to the central office is, where was the concern and commitment to address these issues before now? I inquired at a previous board meeting if RRMM architects pulled the maintenance records and requests when gathering data to calculate the school's facilities condition score. I believe the members of the board and parents of our students deserve to receive an answer to that question. And furthermore, how much money was paid for the assessments by RRMM and Future Think? In the 61-slide presentation given by Dr. Shepard in RRMM on August 19, 2024, titled The Shenandoah County Public Schools Facility Condition Assessments and Triplet Technical Center, none of the images photographed reflected the extent of some of the structural issues in our elementary schools. Also, when I emailed the central office about capacity issues, especially with the annex removal, I was met with replies that formulas were used to calculate the usage of our space, and we had room for growth. I challenged the accuracy of those findings, especially when they were conducted while no students or staff were in the building. I have given you images of how Sandy Hook is attempting to function at its current capacity, which is full. It has been stated that our school has not yet reached its capacity. However, I would like to raise an important question. When determining capacity, did you consider the unique needs of students with disabilities as outlined in their individual educational programs and 504 plans? Or was this evaluation based solely on the number of students in the building, assuming a one-size-fits-all model of education? The problem with this traditional approach is that it fails to account for the accommodations that many of our students require, accommodations that are often necessitate additional space and resources. For example, there's a teacher in our building who, when administering tests, must utilize up to 5 separate rooms to fulfill the accommodations detailed in her students' plans. These accommodations are not optional. They are federally mandated to ensure equitable access to education. But their implementation places...
Ms. One King, your time is up.
I'll finish this sentence and I have somebody follow. But their implementation places significant strain on the physical space available in our school.
Can I assume that you're Crystal Haller?
Holler.
Haller. We'll get it right.
Ready? Additionally, some of our students with disabilities are given instructional services daily in makeshift hallway classrooms, while other students can frequently be seen being tested or receiving daily remediation for reading, math, and tutoring in hallways and even the cafeteria. These are not conducive learning environments, especially for students who already face significant challenges. Prior to this academic year, our teachers working with students with disabilities each had their own individual classrooms, providing them with the dedicated space necessary to implement their students' IEPs effectively. However, this year, 3 instructors are sharing a single room. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, is a legal document that requires schools to provide specific services for our students with disabilities. Many of the services outlined in our students' IEPs and 504 plans, such as small group instruction, one-to-one support, and read-aloud testing, require dedicated space and quiet environments. These legal requirements are becoming next to impossible to implement because of a lack of adequate space in our building. The extensive work that our professional teaching staff invests into these educational experiences of our students is also negatively impacted when testing and assessments have to be done in distracting areas like our hallways. Our current student test scores may not accurately reflect their abilities simply because of the inappropriate spaces being used to measure their skills. If nothing is done to address the capacity issues at the elementary level, I believe the majority of our teaching staff would agree that the learning achievement gap between students who need specialized instruction and those who do not will naturally increase. Elementary schools are the foundation of our public school student population.
It's here that the eligibility for special education services, speech, language, reading, math, behavioral, and mental health needs are identified and supported. All of these interventions have the ability to positively impact the trajectory of a student's educational success and their future contributions as a productive citizen. Will the school budget for SCPS in 2025-2026 be a proactive statement that supports the future needs of our students, or will it continue on the current path of reacting to the emergencies of past neglect? The costs of construction and expansion are only going to increase in the years ahead, and this county has already waited over 30 years to address these issues. That's all I have.
Thank you. That's the last speaker who signed up. Is there anybody who has not signed up that would like to take the floor? If not, we will move on. Do I have a motion to approve the following consent agenda items?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. So there has been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? We are now moving into the instructional agenda portion, 4.1. And Dr. Shepard, you're going to give us a report on status of weekday religious education.
I'm actually going to turn it over to the weekday religious education board.
Well, this is just part of the board. Dr. Shepard, Mr. Barlow, and school board members, thank you for giving us time to speak about Shenandoah County weekday religious education and to bring an update on exciting news for the next chapter for our instructional opportunities. I'd like to introduce those who were able to come out. Steve Jennings and Kathy Rivers, our executive director, Pastor George Bowers, Pastor David Howard, and Pastor Dale Bennett, and I am Pastor Katie Goscoigne.
And as you know, WRE had a long tradition in Shenandoah County until 1990 when a lawsuit brought the chapter to a close. Little could we imagine that there would come a time during the pandemic that the discussion of resurrection WRE once again to take hold. In February of 2021, an invitation was sent out by a group of brethren pastors to all the churches of the county and became the answer to so many of our prayers. How often does God use times of crisis to draw his people together? And Isaiah 43 puts it, forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing new things. Now in the springs up, do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and in the streams and in the wastelands.
Now, just a short 4 years ago, the work of WRE began with Brethren and Presbyterian, Lutheran, and United Church of Christ, Baptist, non-denominational, and more to do God's work together. Petitions and support were provided to you, the school board, from 27 churches and over 1,000 individuals. And so we are thankful that in January of 2022, the school board voted to allow WRE to return with a vote of 5-1. Seeds began to take root as we started with a 4-week class on St. Patrick's Day of 2022 that taught about the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Our classes have been able to receive students from the 3 elementary schools, beginning with those first 21 fourth graders we welcomed. In 2022-2023 academic year, We had 2 grades with 35 students on the 3 campuses. And then last year, the program grew to over 100 students on the 3 campuses with children from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grades. God has truly directed and guided our work together as a community. We're grateful for the support you've been able to provide. From your support to the many churches and individuals who have stepped forward, from the Yellow Barn, Redemption Hill Church of the Nazarene here in Woodstock, and Strasburg Presbyterian, providing us meeting space, to ball clubs, selling us their buses, from businesses sponsoring our fundraisers, to the most important gift of all, God raising up a wonderful, faithful staff of teachers, aides, and bus drivers. WRE has been blessed beyond measure.
And so here we are tonight, and it is with great joy that we announce the addition of the 5th grade starting in March, starting February 25th. And after meeting with Dr. Shepard and Ms. Proctor on December the 20th, we were pleased that plans were put in place for WRE to begin providing 5th grade classes. And they will start our days on each campus with the earliest sessions. So Tuesday, Ashby Lee, Wednesday, W.W. Robinson, and Thursday, Sandy Hook. Our classes will be provided 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So it's our pleasure to introduce to you our new executive director who started in August. We have been blessed to have Kathy Rivers as the director for Shenandoah County Weekday Religious Education, starting with this academic school year.
Good evening. I'm excited to give you an update about the Weekday Religious Education program. We also call it Bible Break because it gives homeschooled and public school kids a break during their school week to praise God, learn about God, and know that they are truly loved by God and our community. I'm happy to say that we have 153 students currently enrolled in WRE this year, excuse me, and this is across the 3 campuses. As they told you, we work with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders. Our largest classes have 25 students, and our smallest classes have 12. Every class has a teacher and a teacher's aide, and our teachers combined have 40 years of teaching experience, so they're really great in the classroom. They're so enthusiastic, and they really love the kids. Brittany Aders is our teacher for Sandy Hook and W.W. Robinson, and Kathy Reinhardt teaches the Ashby Lee students. Brittany is also the teacher's aide for Kathy's classes, and I'm the aide for Brittany's classes. The teachers at each school are responsible for dismissing the students to go down to the office, and then the aide then picks up the kids in the foyers of the schools. I just want to say that they've been doing a great job this year, remembering to send the kids down, and we've had a really large increase in attendance this year because of that. The teacher's aide is also responsible for taking attendance before leaving the school, keeping the kids safe on the bus, and helping the class. It's a 5-minute bus ride to each of the locations, and so we end up having about 30 minutes of actual class time. The actual time from the time we leave, get the kids, and bring them back is 45 minutes. Each grade has a different curriculum, and during that 30 minutes, what we do is we pray, we focus on a Bible story, and we do an activity from a workbook or other crafts, things like that. The kids are also learning American Sign Language to praise songs, so it's really fun to see the kids. They get so involved in making the motions and very excited about their songs.
In the blink of an eye, it seems like we have to get back to the school. And what we really want these students to know is that they are valued and they're loved, not just by the community, but by God. We also want them to know that God is only a prayer away, that no matter what situation they find themselves, He's always available anytime, any place, and for all of their lives. And as Pastor Katie said, we're adding the 5th grade classes effective February 25th this year. And the 5th grade class at each campus will be from 8:15 to 9 a.m. We had a single donor donate enough money for the entire year of 5th grade classes. So that was extremely generous, and our whole community supports us in so many ways, and we're so grateful for that. The theme of the 5th grade this year will be Faith in Action, the Teachings of Jesus. There will be an emphasis on navigating the Bible and learning how the Bible applies to their lives. If anyone listening here today knows a child they'd like to sign up, just go to BibleBreak.org and fill out a permission form. We'd love to have more children in our program. And I just want to thank Dr. Shepard and the school board and this community for your support.
Well, it's always a little bit dangerous to offer a microphone to a preacher, much less a couple of them. But thank you for the opportunity to be able to share a little bit this evening. About over 50 years ago now, I started my education in this building, not far from where we're meeting right now, actually. In the first 7 years, we're here in this building, and part of those, I had WRE across the parking lot in what was the old ag building from when it was in high school, years before that. Miss Lambert was my teacher, and I still remember she taught us where to find the book of Psalms in the Bible. Just open it to the middle. And so I'm very thankful for that foundation. And then 4 years ago, was back in this building to pitch WRE, along with some of the other folks that are with us here this evening. And you were asking some very good questions, and I was worried we weren't going to know all the answers, and I'm thankful you didn't ask some of the questions we were worried about. But God has led the way, and we've discovered many of those answers, and He's good about that. As we step forward in faith, He shows the way. We're thankful, as Pastor Katie mentioned, for our executive director, Ms. Kathy. The Bible, George Washington said, no nation can rightly be governed without God in the Bible. And I think that's true not only for nations, but certainly also even for homes and for counties as well. And so, very thankful. We would emphasize again, this does not replace the church. It does not replace Christian education in the home. It supplements, it complements what is going on there. And we're thankful to be able to do that. We had graduations at each of the different campuses this past spring. We're looking forward to doing that again this coming spring and celebrating those children that are finishing their time in WRE. So God's at work. He's always at work. And we're thankful for His work in WRE. Seeds, I think that started out one of the comments at the very beginning about seeds that are planted. And many times seeds take a while to germinate and then grow and then produce fruit. And so some of the fruit from WRE we won't see in our lifetimes, but it will come. Thank you for your support, for your cooperation, and for your help with WRE in Shenandoah County. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to try to answer.
Just want to remind you, it was at the banquet in Strasburg when I asked you. I said, why aren't you all doing 5th grade? I want to applaud all of y'all for following your calling. God is good. Thank you for what you do.
Yes, thank you. And one of our issues was funding, and actually the Wholesome Butcher from Wholesome Foods came through. And we're very supportive, and we're very thankful for that partnership.
I also saw how you auctioned off those cakes and realized you could still sell that cake for another. You guys are great at doing that.
You should have brought that along.
I just wanted to jump in and say real quick, I was thinking back while you were talking about 2022, Chairman Barlow and I had just gotten here, and I know that was something that we heard a lot about before we got here in the community, was that there was a lot of support for this and getting it back into movement. I recall it started pretty slow at first, around 15 to 20 students, but I think, you know, my rationale was, and I'm sure Chairman Barlow shares this, is if you can make positive impact for one kid, especially with all the evil and difficulties going on in the world right now, as we all see, it's a good thing. So I appreciate everyone for what you all are doing. Long term, I think this is going to be really good, and we'll continue to see it grow. So thank you for your work.
Thank you for your support then and now.
I'd also like to, while you're there, I saw y'all breaking for the back, but you, I'm a little bit of a preacher too, but anyway, so I just wanted to make you guys know that, something you already know, which is our staff has been so incredibly good at linking and working with you guys. And it would be I've worked in lots of secular schools and universities in my life, and it's not always easy to get the secular teachers and administrators to work with you guys. And it's been really heartening to watch that synergy occur. So thanks to both groups.
Well, and I will add to your comments that this year, when the staff presented us with a schedule where all one day at one school, another school, as opposed to trying to get our teachers and staff all over the county, it was an answer to prayer and a gift beyond belief, and has really changed the feeling and the motivation and all for our staff. So thank you. They've been tremendous.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Hold on. Getting out of that quick. I really appreciate everything that you all do, and I highly support WRE, and so I really want to thank you and appreciate it. I have two questions if I'm allowed to ask. I'm just kind of curious, how much are you allowed to say how much it costs to fund this yearly?
Yeah, our budget for this year is going to come in at about $125,000 for the year to be able to support our teachers, our aides, bus drivers, materials and maintenance and all of that. Yeah.
How much? 100 and what?
$125,000.
Oh wow, I wasn't expecting that high.
Yeah. We weren't either.
But we want to honor our staff.
We do. Yeah.
You know, our staff has been fantastic.
Okay. The other thing, and maybe you'll have an answer. 30 minutes doesn't sound like a long time. Is that the most they can get? Is that because it lines up with classes or something?
Yeah, the release time is actually about 45 to 50 by the time they're released and then brought back. And so part of that is transportation time.
Yeah, I get that, but it's 45 minutes.
It does align with the specials, music, art, PE, those types of things, yes.
So I guess there's no way to squeeze in another 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. I'm trying.
But thank you, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We're going to move into our informational agenda. And topic of the town of Strasburg receiving a grant to expand the Strasburg Riverwalk is here, and we're going to talk about some options for that. And so Dr. Shepard, you'll take it from there.
Yep, so I will start, and then I will introduce our town of Strasburg friends who are here to help explain any questions that you may have. But the town of Strasburg has received a grant to expand the Strasburg Riverwalk with a goal of enhancing access to the Shenandoah River. The grant will fund the entire cost of the project, which includes extending the Riverwalk beyond Strasburg High School and adding a parking area and boat ramp at the opposite side of South Holiday Street from Strasburg High School. So currently, if you will look at this map, you will see there are two options. On the board agenda item, there are really three, but I will go through those really quickly and then ask our friends from the town of Strasburg to come up and add anything that I have missed. But the option one would extend the Riverwalk, that one is in red, to the boat launch and then to the proposed parking area there on the left if you're looking at the map. But that option 1 would wind its way around the track and the football stadium at Strasburg High School. It would give the visitors of the football games access to the bleachers, away bleachers, a little easier than they currently have, because currently I think they walk around the track, if I'm correct. Option 2, which I believe most of the board members favor, is the red there on the right, and then it goes into yellow across the bottom. So it kind of goes right along the river and then to where they want to add the boat launch and the proposed parking area. So option 3 is not detailed on here, but that could be just to add the proposed parking area, which is land that Shenandoah County Public Schools owns, and then add the boat launch there on the other side of South Holiday Street. So if Miss Melanie Scheidt and Miss Melissa Varley would come up, they can answer any questions that you would have.
Thank you guys for having us. So real quick, just to option 1, option 2. The reason option 1 became an option was because we met with Coach Heiserman, and down at the bottom here on the yellow one, it runs along the practice field. So that's why it came up. And when Matt was talking, the way that, so it ends up there at the track. That's where the current Riverwalk ends now. He was the one that suggested around there and coming down to give access to the bleachers for the opposing field, because it's just a grassy area and it's really hard for people to access it right now.
I have a question. How much of the practice field does that take? I mean, in terms of yards? Or?
So Matt and them said that they practice up to like the tree line is where we wanted to go. Is my understanding it was going to be like 8 to 10 feet that it would take from that, like from the tree line up into the practice field.
And I think one of the concerns about leaving the Riverwalk in the campus is that there would be students on campus during the school day, and that was the biggest concern about.
Yeah, we're not for anything that's going to change school safety. Like that's not our goal. It ends currently right now. It ends in the student parking lot right there, so it comes into school property.
Oh, it does already.
It does.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
And had it not been for Matt suggesting it, because he said people were, because of the way Strasburg's laid out, it's a little different from all the other campuses. So sometimes people are already down there walking on school property.
But just keep in mind, they're walking away from the school in the parking lot. They're not. A lot of times the kids are walking that track during the day. That was my only alarm when Dr. Shepard and I discussed it. That's why I was big with option 2. There's no reason to have people that close to the track during the school day.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
And all my years of my kids playing sports for Strasburg, I've never heard a visiting team complain about going to the bleachers over there.
Let's talk a little bit about option 3. I mean, but let me just say, which one, from your standpoint, makes more sense?
So option 2 was the one that was presented. Matt's the one that, because they didn't want to lose part of that practice field, and I understand that. I get it. Strasburg girls, so football's a big thing. I get it, and there's options. We talked with our engineers, maybe of making it just a grassy patch there to try and help keep the practice field, so we don't take away from it. He was also concerned with when they are practicing, if people are out trying to walk on the Riverwalk and they're out like tackling and then they just collide or something like that. Option 3 is what she was talking about, is if you want to tell us, no, you can't do it at all, and it ends where it does up there at the parking lot, which would be where the little white thing, it would end there. There would be no connection, and this over here is behind the old middle school that goes down to the river. It would still put the boat ramp and the parking area in there.
But that's not ideal for you guys.
Not ideal.
Okay, no. That's I just wondering
Yes.
if he was,
That's
the one
worst
after the
case
other.
scenario. We would still be able to get access to the river, because that's what
Yeah.
part of the grant for the Virginia Department of Forestry is getting people into the river. That's their whole goal.
Being a resident of the town, I like what you're doing. I like option 2. Option 3, I don't think does anything for us.
Correct.
I think they proposed option 3 as a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
If
Okay. Yeah,
if
it
we
was
weren't
just
going to
like-
agree to option 1 or option 2, if the school board wouldn't agree to option 1 or option 2, then
Because it still does put it on school property, so just making sure, like, it is on school property. And one thing we also talked about too, I have a colleague that works at James County and down by Williamsburg. They have signs that they've put up, like, you're not allowed on that part of the Riverwalk during school hours, because they have a trail that goes through school property as well. But they have those that are available.
I'll pass this down so they
Yes.
can. Yeah. So the intent is to have this as information this evening with the intent to, for it to be on the February 13th action agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
If you guys have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next informational item is policy 2BP, library material selection. Dr. Shepherd, you're going to lead us into that one?
Yes, I will. So when policy IIBP library material selection was approved at the December 14th, 2023 school board meeting, the school board included a one-year sunset provision for the policy. This past December, members of the school board conducted an informal review of policy IIBP by visiting the libraries at each school to assess its implementation and effectiveness. On the scheduled review dates, 2 school board members visited each campus, spending approximately 45 minutes in each library. The visits provided an opportunity to learn how the policy was working and to gather feedback. The meetings were hosted by the librarians, and school administrators and central office staff was there. Discussion centered on the guidance provided in policy IIBP and its implementation. A key question guiding the conversations is the policy effective and how can it be improved? School board members also posed additional questions to librarians to better understand the policy's impact. The board members who participated in the visits consolidated the feedback into a summary, which I believe will be presented at this evening's meeting. And the library material selection policy will be presented for approval at the February 13th school board meeting.
I didn't time that very well. So. Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. I'd like to give a little synopsis of what happened as a result of the library visitations that occurred. First of all, I want to give a shout out to the school board members of Kyle Gutschall and for Larry Vance for comprising 2/3 of this team, of which I was a third. And we did visitations to the libraries 13 through 20th of December as a run-up to the winter holidays. And I have passed out a position paper to the school board members and to the clerks, which you have now, which is a report on the findings and the conclusions of that team. Each team met, were only 2 school board members at a time, meeting with other members of staff, the central staff, the administrators of the school, and the librarians. And it was, I'm trying not to characterize it as much as just give you the objective discussion points, but I can't do that because it was such a positive experience for those of us involved that it was hard not to be excited about the synergies that were in play. It was clear that the librarians as professionals were passionate, dedicated librarians who are literally on fire about their job. It was also equally evident that Doctors Shepherd and Heingardner were also invested enough to be at all the meetings, that the administrators of the schools were there, and certainly not least, we had Chad Hensley and Jennifer Proctor, who were at one of the two was at all of our meetings. So at a time just the week before Christmas, to get everybody together in such a positive spirit was actually quite delightful to me, and kind of led off the Christmas season in the right spirit. The reason for the visits is that we did have a 1-year suspense date on our policy. It was a very complex policy. We weren't sure it was going to work because so many levels, the ones I've just mentioned, were involved. And we weren't sure that that policy was going to be able to stand the test of time with that level of complexity. But indeed it did. And everybody seemed to be excited about what had happened. I'm not going to go over the discussion points here with the school board, but I want you to take these, and we will be discussing these probably at the work session, with the idea of promulgating and extending the policy into next year and into indefinitely. And there is one, but I will read the one major recommendation, which seemed to be universal, which is that instead of having the selection materials cycle occur on a semi-annual basis, it would be on a monthly or every 2-month basis, so that the work would be more evenly distributed through the year. But the basic concept of having all the stakeholder groups involved in this process to make it more transparent to the county and to our parents and our community members was, I think, a rousing success. And I haven't mentioned the advisory council composed of the parents and community members who played a large role in this. So any one of those organizations could have just gummed this up, and instead everything flowed wonderfully well. So my hat's off to each of those groups. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take a moment to ask my two partners here if they would just give me a sense of what they saw and felt, because all three of us were not at any one meeting together. We split it up so that we purposely were only two of us at each particular meeting. And so Kyle, we'll start with you and then work our way down to Larry.
Yeah, I think it was a good experience. We gained a lot of good insight into the librarians. We learned things that we probably didn't know beforehand. Like Chairman Barlow just mentioned, the big theme was that the librarians felt that they needed to be able to get their book requests in more frequently, which is understandable. Only having it every 6 months or so can be difficult. So that's something that we're going to be taking into consideration, and I think every single librarian mentioned that exact thing. So good to get that information, and just hearing about what they do on a daily basis and some of their insights on how the policy works, what they like about it and what they don't, I think was helpful for us. And that information will allow us to move forward with improving what we already have in place and putting something in place long term that can positively impact our community along with the librarians too. So we want to make sure that parents are involved with these kind of decisions and know what's going on, and we want to be fair to our staff as well.
I was delighted to have the opportunity to visit the northern campus, Mr. Gutshaw, and the southern campus, Chairman Barlow, and it was a unique experience. And aside from the summary which the chairman has presented to you, I'd like to take a couple of minutes and add my thanks to the librarians for their hospitality, their sense of professionalism, how they welcomed us. And one other thing I would add, it was, as the chairman noted, very close to winter break. Am I right, Ann? Sometimes kids get a little surge of energy. But things were in order in the campuses that I visited. And I'd really like to commend the librarians, the 6 that I met. I didn't visit the central campus. That was left up to the other two folks here. And I'd also like to commend the librarians for the, I guess the word would be their ambiance in the library. It's so attractive, well organized, inviting. And the other thing that struck me in my discussions with the librarians, the 6 that I met, is that they were demand driven. What the teachers wanted, what the kids wanted, what they wanted, but operating within the confines of the library policy. So my commendations to the 6 librarians that I met, and hopefully all of you will have access to the position paper policy review that's been compiled.
Thank you. We appreciate that. To wrap up, I will say we as a board, I don't think, should make the decision as to how frequent the cycle should be conducted. And we're going to toss that back your way, Dr. Shepard, for you to work with your staff and especially librarians and find out what you tell us is the best operational cycle. And then whatever that is, we'll be, I think as a group, we'll be very happy to put that in there. But these, in the policy, but some of these discussion items, I was particularly happy to hear that the librarians are as concerned as we are with the balance of things in the library, and that they're trying to achieve that kind of balance. We're talking politically, we're talking about sociologically, we're talking about fiction, nonfiction, and very, very aware of that balance. And I think the one thing that I want to stress going forward is that I'm so proud of this division for its academic progress over the last year, and setting a high bar for raising expectations and greater academic achievement. And I think we need to include the libraries in that group as well, because that's the, if you will, the free market of reading and ideas. And if students can be challenged upward there in terms of expectations of reading and interests, that will just build a greater sense of growth and invite the kind of intellectual and emotional growth that we want from our students. So I want to endorse what Mr. Vance has said, that the nurturing aspect and the demand-driven nature of the librarians also encompasses this desire and need to increase the educational awareness and level of the students who visit them. So anyway, I'm inviting the school board members to take a close look at this, and then we'll act on. We'll probably have, knowing you, Madam Superintendent, we'll have a recommendation very soon for the timeline, and then we can include that in our in the school motion to move ahead and accept the policy. So,
Certainly.
All right, thank you so much. The next informational item is on school board norms. Dr. Shepard, you're up again.
Thank you. At the December 9th school board meeting, a draft copy of the school board norms was presented, and asked if anyone had any additions or recommendations for changes on the school board norms. I have heard none, so at the February 13th meeting, there will be a recommendation for approval of the school board norms.
I have a question, point of interest. I do have some recommendations for this. I just wasn't sure exactly how we're doing this. So I wasn't sure when we're discussing this or when we are making our recommendations for this. Is that something that we're doing now today, or how exactly are we dealing with this?
So, if I remember correctly, it's been a month ago, but I asked for any changes to the norms to be sent to me before winter break and, or by January 2nd, I don't remember. So that's, and I was going to incorporate them in the draft. However, if we need more time to do that, I'm happy to incorporate changes into the draft before the next meeting.
Okay. I guess my question was, is this something that we're going to do as a policy, that we do amendments here, or is this something that we're doing kind of closed session, just send it to you, and then, what if what I recommend goes against what's already in here? I guess that's what I'm asking. Or are you just going to do like a separate draft, and we're just going to have to discuss each draft? I just don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to see your changes before I could have a recommendation. But I'm happy to look at that. But my recommendation would likely be that we have a present it for approval. And if there are two versions, then there would be a version A and a version B, and we can work from those two. Okay. Very similar to probably how we did the gender identity policy.
Okay. Because I guess the question is because there's several issues here that we're talking about that have absolutely nothing to do with one another. One would be with the agenda setting meeting, and when we as members are allowed to bring things up for the agenda. And then the other ones I see it has to do with the closed session and whether we can have electronic devices and not. So it's two completely different issues. So I wasn't sure if we're going to be discussing one first, then the other second, or how exactly. I assumed that it was going to be like a policy, that we were just going to be able to do the amendments and kind of discuss it as members here in front of everybody.
That's fine. I'll defer
Well,
to the chair.
yeah, so we've been having discussions about school board norms throughout the year, and there's ambivalence because it is a very flexible document, and yet at the same time it is a very user-friendly document, and so I don't think anybody's really suggested any specific line in, line outs as of yet, but I think we're open to that as we're taking a look at the norms, because it's our norms to change or to maintain. So I think, and again, is there time allotted on the work session for us to do that? Because but nobody has yet made any changes, with the exception of the superintendent, who has added this one concept of eliminating electronic devices in the closed session.
Why is the superintendent making recommendations on our board norms?
This is something that was discussed maybe a couple months ago about whether we wanted to do this. It's been here for 2 months. There has been no discussion. We can certainly have discussion about it.
I think us as a board should be writing our own board norms. This thing about electronic devices, we're all adults here. I believe in transparency, number one. Number two, I have a son that still plays sports for Strasburg, and when I'm here and he's playing, I'm looking for score updates from my wife and stuff like that. I don't see why, or if Miss Carlenia wants to have her laptop in there and she wants to research something quickly, to me, we should be able to police ourselves and hold ourselves to the level that we should be at when we're conducting ourselves in closed session.
Well, I think your overall point is exactly right. The school board norms for us to decide. And so we can make them as specific, we can make them as general as you want. The question has been, as Mrs. Carlini just alluded to, there are aspects of it that have caused confusion this year. Specifically in one case about how agenda items are brought forward. Now, if we want to change those, then this is the opportunity to get word in, and it can mean any number of things. And we can take them one by one, or we can take various versions of them, and then just decide as a board what we're going to go with. So this is ours to decide, as you suggest. But there have been comments from various quarters about the fact that since it's not a typed document as such, that it becomes one of interpretation sometimes, and that often causes heartburn.
Right, and I know I have brought up some of these issues already. So the question is, because I do have, I agree with Mr. Rickard with regards to the electronic devices. You know, if we're having consultation with an attorney, I would like to have my computer so I can actually look up the statutes or the case law that they're actually bringing up. There's another question about the confidentiality of the what's said in the closed session, and I want to make sure that when we say that, we say the confidentiality as mandated by law, because not everything that is said there is necessarily confidential. So we need to kind of make sure that when we say that, we're not infringing on anybody's First Amendment rights. But most importantly, I'm more concerned about the deadlines for the agenda setting. Because we've had this conversation before, whereas historically, and I've talked to a lot of people who've been coming to these meetings for many years, we've had the opportunity to present cases or policy the Thursday before the meeting, just 7 days before the meeting, and then at the November meeting, I was told, no, we have to do it at the agenda setting meeting, which I understand that we have an agenda setting meeting. That is perfectly fine. We should have a meeting where you guys can sit down and say, we're going to discuss budget in this one, we're going to discuss personnel in this one, whatever you want to do, just kind of have a major scheme. But the law is very clear. It says that board members are allowed to bring in policy up until the point where that agenda is actually made public. And the agenda is made public on Friday, so I would say that by Thursday or Friday would be the time that we have as a deadline. Now, I know there's some concerns that we're going to have too many things on the agenda. Well, if that's the case, then there's other ways that we can address that. We can decide that every time a policy or an issue is going to be brought up, maybe it has two members sponsor that. You'll have a sponsor and you'll have a co-sponsor. So there's a lot of things that we need to talk about this, and I just wasn't sure if, I assumed, I guess, originally that we were going to be talking about this at the organizational meeting. I guess that was my fault. I just didn't understand, and I'm still not very clear on what's going on. So the question is, do we discuss this as an issue, as an action item next time and bring in our amendments, or do we have a separate work session just to work on this? Because the way I see it, there's several issues that we're going to have to discuss and maybe get some legal opinions on that as well.
I think there's nothing wrong with having a discussion on the concept of the school board norms at a work session. I think it can inform the a motion or motions that we want to bring forward about, or various options about which ones should be or will be brought forward to be discussed. There is a point here that we have to understand, that the norms are exactly what they're called. They're normative ways of doing things, what we in the Army would call doctrine. It's kind of an expected way of doing things, but there's flexibility. I think we need to, where we find that there's confusion, make it specific. Just realizing that when it gets specific, then that shuts down some aspects of flexibility. Also I really didn't want to get into this, but there are reasons why there are gestation period for some of these things to be discussed. Some of it has to do with just the public being aware of what's happening. Some of it is so that we can talk to each other and do some research about what needs to be done, and to get information from the staff and others about what it is, so we have a full explanation of what it is that we're trying to investigate here. So there are reasons why there are suggested in the norms. There are levels of approaching and deciding these issues. So I'm all for it. Let's have the discussion. Let's come up with any line in, line outs that we think should be made for the board norms. And I suggest that we kick it off at a work session. I'm not sure if we have a session yet. A time we can do that. We're heading right into the beginning of budget season, and we have a lot to do. But I think we might be better off there than coming up with 9 different versions of what we think are the especially since we've had 2 months when people have been invited to make input and we have no input.
Well, like I said, I mean, I have talked about this, and I thought that we were gonna have, it was just like everything else, and even the agenda setting meeting, is just things are not very clear for some of us, or either that or the goalpost keeps changing, and it's very hard to understand what's going on. What I would suggest is, because nobody is arguing with your point, I understand our decision peers, I understand we're doing it a certain way, that nobody is actually arguing with that. The question is, what are the rules so that we all understand what our expectations are and what we should be doing. However, these are board norms that actually are going to be ruling us, not necessarily the public. So my suggestion is, I do think that we should be doing this in a work session where anybody is invited to come over and listen to us, but that way we don't have to waste their time talking about this board norms at a public hearing. But that's just my opinion.
I didn't understand that. So are you saying you do or
That
do not?
I would rather talk about all this and all the issues that we have with the board norms at a work session, not a public hearing.
Well, the work session is public.
But as I said, they're welcome to come because it is public, but that way we're not taking away from these other issues. We just make it a work session to talk specifically about these issues.
Absolutely. So would you like me to take that as an agenda item to add?
For the next work session, sure.
Good. I'll talk to the superintendent and see if we can work that out. The final informational agenda item has to do with the increase of the special budget. And so, here comes Ms. Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, members of the board, Dr. Shepherd. The agenda item before you this evening just requests the increase in appropriation for your consideration on the special budget. As is normal every year, the BDOE does give us our final allocations after the year has started, which does require changes in our appropriations. The net change based on our title fund allocations is an increase of $14,653.97. We are not requesting any action this evening. We will be asking for that action at the next scheduled business meeting in February. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we are into action items. The first is dealing with the personnel decisions that we've been briefed on. And so the superintendent has recommended personnel actions on the list that we have reviewed. Do we have a motion to approve the personnel list as it has been presented to us?
I move to approve the personnel list as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Street, for that motion.
Second.
Second from Mr. Rickard. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Thank you. 6.2. At the October 10th, 2024 school board meeting, school board member requested to amend sections 3D4 and 3D5 of policy GBAB/JFHAB, privacy, dignity, and respect for all students and parents in Shenandoah County Public Schools. Is there a motion related to that proposition?
I move to approve policy GBAB/JFHAB, privacy, dignity, and respect for all students and parents in Shenandoah County Public Schools as presented, with the removal of sections 3.D.4 and 3.D.5. Section 3.D6 will be renumbered as section 3.D4.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlinio. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Discussion?
So,
Mrs. Carlinio, you lead off.
So the reason I had actually recommended this is because when we first passed this policy back in, sometime in the spring, I think a lot of the board members have relied on somewhat faulty legal advice saying that we should have this section in our policy. However, and actually it's very timely because just today there was a nationwide decision that actually renders that section illegal. So rather than keep something that could potentially open us up for additional litigation, I think it is appropriate that we go ahead and eliminate that section, and that way make sure that we clear any potential loophole for somebody trying to sue us under that section that we have kept in that policy. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that people have. A lot of that has to do with First Amendment, and that's what the nationwide decision of State of Tennessee versus Miguel Cardona has actually stated, that expanding the meaning of the basis of the sex to include gender identity turns federal law on its head. It also said that the court remains persuaded that the final rule offends the First Amendment for the reasons explained in this prior memorandum, opinions, and orders. And we've had several cases. I know we've been talking about this for so long, and I know some people may have already forgotten, but I passed out several opinions and several articles that we've had over the past few months of several schools here in Virginia. We've had two. We've had one in West Point, Virginia. We had one in Harrisonburg, Virginia. We recently had one in Ohio as well, where schools are having to settle sometimes $500,000 lawsuits because they had policies according to what we have in the policy right now. So I recommend that we eliminate it, and by that, in that way, be in accordance to the law as we have it as of today.
If these amendments that are proposed or approved this evening, are we abolishing the parental consent portion of the, where a parent may specify a change in their identity?
So right now, as it stands, a parent can still go according to our policy through all the hoops that we had put before, and if they can change the student's identity, then they can do that. What they can do right now is write a note and say, from now on, everybody in the school has to call my girl a boy. And that is what this is eliminating. If you look at the policy right now as it stands, and I'll direct you right now if I get a second to find it, and tell you exactly what we're talking about. We still have parental rights in the policy. I believe it's a paragraph after that, after the one that we're eliminating. And that's the one that still deals with the parental rights. And I think it expresses it itself.
It says right in there, no policy, guidance, training, or other written material issued by Shenandoah County Public Schools may encourage or instruct teachers to conceal material information about a student from a student's parent, including information related to gender. Having a spouse that works for our school system, it concerns us very often. We ran into this years ago with a set of twins that came up with our daughter, and all of a sudden one of them wanted to change identities and expected school staff to go along with it. Makes it quite difficult when you see a child come up through the school system all the way to high school and then all of a sudden want to change. And of course, other teachers have sued school districts and won, where they were compelled to have to participate in that.
I think this amendment runs counter to Virginia Code. Section 1240.1, a parent has a fundamental right to make decisions regarding the upbringing, education, and care of parent's child.
is you don't have a right to tell all the teachers that they have to, have to adopt something, and that's what all these cases have been about. We can't tell the teacher that they have to use a pronoun that goes against the natural birth, and that's what we have from Youngkin right now. That's what we had. However, this particular decision, our Attorney General, Miyares, we are actually a party to the original lawsuit. So that's why I had said before that we should have changed it. That's when I first introduced this. Now we have this decision that makes it a national decision. So it's going to trump everything else that we have right now. The parent still has parental rights. The parent still has a right to do whatever they want within the law. What this is affecting is what we're telling our teachers that they have to do or not do. And that's where we're having a conflict with the First Amendment. As you know, the First Amendment is going to trump everything else. So the Constitution is going to be able to trump all these decisions. It doesn't matter what the code says in terms of this. So that's what we have right now, and that's what the court said today when they actually granted the nationwide decision. It was originally an injunction. What they've done right now is they granted the summary judgment. So when you grant a summary judgment, that's pretty big. And like I said, it enjoins all the other courts nationwide. It is a First Amendment argument.
It is a First Amendment argument, but the First Amendment denies a prescription of speech. And it seems like we're prescribing to our employees what they may or may not say.
No, what we're saying is that we're not going to force them to do. So right now, if you have a parent who says Susie's really Joe, and their teachers want to call Susie by Joe, they can do that. What you can't do is have every other teacher have to say, oh yeah, she really is a Joe. That's the difference.
You can't make a teacher participate in a family's decision to make a girl a boy or a boy a girl.
You cannot violate the teacher's First Amendment right to speech or the First Amendment right to religion, the freedom of religion.
Okay.
And
Okay. So let's establish some ground rules here, and as we continue. So we want to hear from everybody in turn. Please be recognized first, so that we can. Now I had a little attitude here because you asked us some questions. We have had some Q&As, and that's been good. But I'd like to make sure that each other person has a chance to speak, and then we'll go back. So we've heard from Mr. Carlonio, and then Mr. Vance and Mr. Rickard. Mr. Gutschall, do you have anything to add at this point?
Pass for now.
Pass. Mr. Street?
Nothing right now.
Okay. I have something that I'd like to say, and then we'll go around again. It's kind of confusing the way it's been put, I think, but when we dealt with what we called the transgender policy back in January, February, we were dealing with what's called the Youngkin transgender policy model, and that was sent out as a document which AG Miyares and Governor Youngkin had developed. At the time we passed it as a group, we had strengthened it somewhat. We had taken that policy, and we had added to it a couple of protections that I think as we were developing things, it became known as kind of, and maybe I've got this wrong, you guys will clarify, the Rickard version. Is that correct? It was something I know that you, Gloria, and Mike had been working on. And those protections we added, which were protections against the teachers specifically. Well, why don't I just read them? Notwithstanding any other provision in this policy, Shenandoah County's public schools shall not compel, discipline, or retaliate against or otherwise disadvantage any student, teacher, staff, member, or other person to address or refer to any students using pronouns or other words inconsistent with the student's actual biological sex or is reflected by the official record. No person, including any student, teacher, or staff member, may be disciplined, retaliated against, or otherwise disadvantaged for his or her refusal to participate in school-sponsored activities or events and or the teaching of principles related to sexual and or gender identity. Now, those protections essentially took the Youngkin model and, if you will, in the terms of the day, made it more comprehensive, stronger. At the time, and I believe still today, that version is probably the strongest version of the transgender, I'm loosely calling it the transgender policy, in the state of Virginia. The exception might be the County of Hanover, which has come up with a different way of taking a look at this, which is kind of creative. But they have a pretty strong one as well, and it has a parallel track that has to do with athletics, which is another important topic on this involved here. Nevertheless, I took particular pride in the fact that we passed what I think was a very conservative policy, which still allowed for parents to exercise their rights through the naming of their children and what their children should be called and named, and if the records reflect that through some official change that they've made, then we respect that. We may think it's wrong-headed, but we don't have the right to change that. I'm concerned that if we go further, and I see really no need to do it, because the schools that are being sued are schools that have failed to pass these bills or these policies, and therefore are still in the process of disciplining teachers and so forth. That is not happening in our school system. In our school system, sorry to steal your line, I'm going to do it, Mr. Mann, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I didn't say ain't.
It's used a lot. So anyway, we've had a pretty good system, a pretty good policy this year, and things have gone swimmingly last year and this year. And I would not like to see us put at the cusp of risk of having people now beginning litigation based on parental rights. That's really not the hill I want to die on, is denying parental rights. I think we have protected our teachers to the utmost in terms of use of retaliation or any other disciplinary with the policy we passed. Last month, when Mrs. Carlino brought this up, I put a quote down as to she said that what she wants to do is basically clarify the policy. And I think the policy is in really no real need of clarification. I think it's pretty clear by itself. But if we were to take out the two provisions that she wants to take out, we indeed add ambiguity into it. And that ambiguity could invite adverse attention to our, and who knows, litigation to our policy, which I believe has been solid. So that's all I have, and we can go around again.
I'll take another turn. Now, have you read this decision that came down today? Any of you?
Today?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the final rule on the other decision that I had actually brought before. So let's just take this one by one. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get rid of the notwithstanding this provision of paragraphs 2 and 3 of this section. Shenandoah County Public School personnel shall refer to a student by a name other than one of the student's official record, or by pronouns other than the appropriate to the sex appearing on the student's official record. only if an eligible student or a student's parent has instructed Shenandoah County Public Schools in writing that such other names or other pronouns be used. So this is not about parental rights at all. This is about what personnel, it's telling school personnel that they must use those pronouns. Now, whether the other school district have passed this policy or not is completely irrelevant. What those decisions were based on were actually based on judicial opinions, including this one, which, like I said, is not just now applicable to Virginia, which it has been all along since the injunction, the preliminary injunction was granted, but it's now applicable to everybody, whether you're here in New York, in California. So what this is saying, okay, what we're talking about has nothing to do with parental rights. It has to do whether we are gonna be able to force our personnel to have to refer by using those pronouns. And what the court was very clear on right now is that no, you cannot do that. The court remains persuaded that the final rule offends the First Amendment for the reasons explained prior in the memorandum of opinions and orders. So, I mean, we can try to muddle the waters here and try to say, oh, this is really about this or about that. No, this has to do not with parental rights, not with retaliation, has to do with what we tell our personnel, our teachers, our receptionists, our librarians, anybody, that they have to do what we're saying in this policy. And the court is saying, no, you cannot do that because it's a violation of their constitutional rights. So in the end, it's up to you. I mean, this board will vote on this. In a way, yeah, if we get sued, I know how it's gonna end up because we have the opinion right here. So it was just a matter of trying to clarify it, just making sure that, that everybody understands, that our teachers, that all our teachers are gonna understand that they're not gonna be forced to use these pronouns. And that's what this does. That's what eliminating that section does. But in the end, sure, just I would ask that it please not be turned into something that it is not, because this is actually very clear. But in the end, yeah, it'll be the decision of the board.
So you're saying that this upbringing clause of the Code of Virginia, it has no legal effect based on this court case?
What I'm saying is that when it comes to this, the law that is actually going to dictate this is what just happened today, what the court actually decided. And this is actually, we have another case that the Supreme Court has already spoken on that is similar to this. So I'm pretty sure this is going to continue and it's going to be the law of the nation. And that will be, that's what this has to do. Now, I don't remember, what was the code that you read? It had to do with parental rights? Because again, I'm saying this is not about parental rights. This is about personnel and what we tell our teachers that they can or cannot do. So it's two different things. And I would ask to please, you know, let's, the 4 point, the previous 4, the 6 that is not going to become the 4 is the one that talks about all that. About the parental rights and the student records and all that kind of stuff. This is about whether we force our teachers to have to use the pronouns or not. And I do know, in fact, that there are teachers here or personnel that are concerned about this because I have heard about it. So we can't just say that it may or may not happen, or most likely won't happen. The whole point of us putting policy together is to say, okay, if this happens, this is what the law is. So that's.
Well, what we have to remember is Virginia state law, when it comes to the student record in the computer system, it shows what they were born as. My wife, being an employee of Shenandoah County and working in the office, she has that access. She's the receptionist. She does kids coming to and from school every day. If you bring Susie to school and go, hey, I want Susie to be called Joe, my wife's always known Susie as Susie. It should be up to my wife whether she wants to participate in that or not, knowing by looking at the official record that Susie was born a girl. You can't force an employee to partake in somebody else's lifestyle. Cheryl driving the school bus, a student she's known for 6 years, all of a sudden wants to be a male instead of a female. Should we make Cheryl participate in that? I mean, that is the cusp of this whole thing.
Mr. Gutschall?
I just think when we pass things that we have to make sure that they're absolutely bulletproof, and I don't know. I mean, I think what we have is good. Could it be improved? Probably, somewhat, but I think we do have some reason for concern with parts of this, so that's kind of concerning to me. I mean, everyone's kind of brought up some good points here. We realize that we don't want staff members to be put in particular positions, but at the same time, we also need to make sure we're, following the law and not setting ourselves up for litigation. And I mean, we could think that we're going to win, but
This is what the law says. I'm telling you, this is what the law says.
There's already teachers
Okay,
in Virginia that were awarded over $500,000 because they didn't participate.
Yeah, they were schools that have not passed
That
this
is irrelevant.
policy.
Completely
Schools that
irrelevant.
have, that's
It's
exactly
completely
relevant.
No, we're talking about the laws here. It doesn't really matter what the school says in terms of the policy. That is absolutely
Okay.
irrelevant.
Mr. Street?
School board
Mr.
pays
Street, any comments? Okay, Mr. Rickard?
for violating
Mr. Rickard?
First Amendment rights of a teacher who refused to use transgender student pronouns.
Okay.
So any of our staff listening right now, you're not required to participate in this.
Okay, I'll take the floor. And I think you should remember the two protections that you put into this thing that made it stronger, that obviate the very thing that you're talking about. So the only thing in play now is...
Sorry, that's incorrect.
No,
Because I didn't vote about
I'm
it.
going to finish.
Okay,
I'm going to finish.
that was incorrect though.
You guys did not put those two protections in there?
No, we voted against it because of those protections in there.
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes.
These were the ones that had to do with
We voted
retaliation, and
Yeah, retaliation, I did put retaliation. This has nothing to do with retaliation. That's something complete, that's a different section of the
No,
policy.
that's what you put that in. This were the protections that we added
Go
in
back and
here.
look, no, we voted against it because of this.
Well, there it is. Regardless how it got there, it says that there can be no compelling discipline retaliation against disadvantaged students, teachers, staff. This is the protection. This is a protection that was not accorded in Harrisonburg City, and therefore, when the school took action against those teachers, the school system and the school board was sued successfully for $450,000. Now, the school board's not going to have to pay it. The insurance company or the taxpayers going to have to pay for it. That's unfortunate. But we have something that protects our teachers from that. Plus, it indicates that the name that is expected to be used is one which is legally viable. A name that has been, if somebody wants to change a name and it's legally changed, then it's legal and we go with it.
So I have a point of order. I have a question for you since you just said that. So then what exactly does it mean when it says, notwithstanding the provision of paragraphs 2 and 3 of this section, personnel shall refer to the student by a name other than the one student on official record? Can you please explain that to me then?
Yeah, can you give me the paragraph, please?
The one that we're talking about right now.
Number 4.
Number 4. The very first sentence says, notwithstanding the provisions of paragraphs 2 and 3 of this section, Shenandoah County Public School personnel shall refer to a student by a name other than one in the student's official record.
Only if an eligible student or student's parent has instructed Shenandoah County Public Schools in writing that such other name or pronouns be used.
But what do you think personnel shall refer means?
Well, that has a subordinate clause which finishes the sentence.
But it says, no, the main clause is personnel shall refer. The personnel has to do this. What's below it? That's why I'm suggesting that we
If we
eliminate
take out sections 3D4 and 3D5, we're taking now out 2 sections of the Youngkin approved model that now is going to cause internal conflict within the policy itself, and as Mr. Vance points out, will put us at risk with violating Virginia code.
That is incorrect.
And
But
and
again,
and
we're
frankly,
talking about 4 and 5, and let me just say something about the Youngkin policies, because I think we talked about this a lot, and it's interesting actually, because I just spoke to Governor Youngkin a few weeks ago about this, and this was supposed to be the very bare minimum. When he drafted those model policies, that's what they're called, model policies. They were meant to be the very minimum that they wanted other schools to do, because they were hoping that maybe schools that had a more hybrid or a more split ideological, political ideology in their boards would be more willing to actually pass that, which in fact did not happen. But it was actually written in the policy, the model policies, that says that they would like for schools to actually be more comprehensive in what they did, which is what we did. Now this, just to make sure that we understand, this was written, and when Governor Youngkin wrote this, year and a half, almost 2 years ago, was well before these legal opinions came up. Whether the legal opinion that we're talking about that was just released today, or the Supreme Court, or even the ones that Mr. Rickard talked about in terms of the settlements. So at the time when they wrote that, they did not have the legal precedent that we actually have right now. And again, I must state the fact that Jason Miyares, our Attorney General, actually participated. He was one of the Attorney Generals who participated in this lawsuit. So we were already under the injunction, the preliminary injunction, but now there's a summary judgment that it applies to everybody else. Again, we're talking about nothing to do with parental rights. What we're talking about is what we are going to be telling our personnel that they must do, shall do. Shall, same thing as must do. So it's not saying personnel may do this, personnel may want to do this. No, it's saying personnel shall do this. And that's what we have right now. To me, the law is very clear. The decision today is very clear. What it says and what we're trying to get rid of right now is very clear. But again, if you have a different interpretation, I would love to hear the explanation based in law of how that means something else of what I'm reading.
well, let me respond to the last point about Youngkin passing this thing a year and a half ago, or a year ago. Several of us, 5 of us in the board, attended the SBMA policy, or the Empower presentation symposium 2 weeks ago. Governor Youngkin attended and spoke. AG Miyares attended and spoke. The 2 of the lawyers that we have depended on through SBMA, Josh Hetzler spoke, and Butler's first name is his first name Benjamin, the one from Bedford.
Brandon.
All four of those people endorsed the Youngkin model that we have passed and actually reinforced, and none of them spoke against it, or none of them spoke against any sort of modifications that it needed or required. And that was 2 weeks ago. Now, Jason Mayari spoke to our group. There's a Q&A session afterward. These issues were not brought up and were not discussed with him. And so if he had dropped off the position that the state has out of Richmond to support this model policy, it would have been mind-boggling that he wouldn't have mentioned that, or it wouldn't come up as a topic of conversation. I'm still speaking. I'm still speaking.
15 more minutes.
So, and I am cautious about something that I hear was just passed today. I need to hear more about something that just happened today that's going to have an impact on my vote. I know that we came up with a policy that protects our teachers, gives our parents the right to raise their children the way they see fit, within bounds and within accordance of law. And thus far, we have done a very adequate, successful, positive job with it. That I do agree that it's those counties that have not passed this and which continue to prosecute teachers for using wrong pronouns and for taking a an attitude of not implementing some of these transgender policies, who are being sued by teachers who have brought them. But that is not the case in our county because we have a good policy. Any final words?
Well, it's my policy, I'll do the closing remarks. Mr. Mears did actually talk about this. We were there, maybe you weren't paying attention, but he did actually talk about this. And in addition to that, any one of us who has been following what he has been talking about, when he gave out his opinion, when he did all that, we know that he's been talking about that. A lot of the attorneys, including Mr. Hessler, actually did say that he had preferred that these young teen policies had done this that we're talking about right now. So that is incorrect. But more importantly, again, I want to make sure that we understand that this has nothing to do with parental rights and a parent's right of how they want to raise their kids. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. Just reading this should be enough to convince you of that. This has to do with how we're going to protect our teachers and our staff, especially in light of all the issues that we're having, and they are coming here to Shenandoah County. Just because we haven't had a lawsuit doesn't mean that we're not going to have a lawsuit. So I tend to be of the understanding that we should be proactive in this kind of stuff. Given that we do have the law, and yes, the decision was granted today nationwide, but as I said at our meeting back in October or November, we already had the injunction. The preliminary injunction had already been granted, and we, Virginia, was actually party to that lawsuit. So this is nothing new. You had several months to look into that, and now we have it in front of us. And again, it's up to the board to decide whether the courts are right or the courts are wrong, and whether we are, in the end, this is about whether we are going to be protecting our employees from something like this. That's the bottom line. Are we going to protect our employees, or are we going to leave it unclear enough so that somebody can raise a lawsuit when an employee decides not to be forced against their freedom of speech or freedom of religion to have to use those pronouns? So I'll just leave it at that.
I have a motion. Call for the question.
Didn't she already make the motion?
No,
No,
I mean, just a closing remarks. Yeah.
No, we have a motion second.
Would the sponsor of the motion to accept this withdraw the motion to give us time to digest the case that came up today?
Sure.
You would?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean,
There's been too much discussion just to withdraw it.
Okay.
I would postpone it.
Right, postpone it. Yeah, I want to withdraw it. I was just going to say, postpone the vote.
It's been too much, it's monopolized too much time just to pull it back. So a motion, which is an incidental motion, I remember right, postpone till the next meeting, action on this, and it's amendable, debatable, and majority vote. And that will pull it off the docket tonight. So.
I was actually curious about that anyway. I mean, Larry, this is his first regular month on the board. Had you had enough time to review all this information?
Not the case from today, no.
Okay.
I'm limited on my internet access
Right.
where I spend the day at the farm, as most of you know. I'd just like to have time to see this case, maybe see a brief on it.
Well, I have a copy of the case. I can give it to Ms. Jett, but she wants to make copies for everybody. It's, the whole entire case is here, so it's just 15 pages, so 15. So I'm perfectly fine with that. That's what people want to, if there's a question of whether this is legal or not legal, and whether this is applicable to this, by all means, I'm fine with that. Can talk about this again next month.
So, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to make a motion, is it?
I would, yeah, I'd have someone else, I move postpone whatever number this is
Carl,
To the next
can you make a
meeting.
motion to postpone
It
that?
really doesn't
Huh?
matter. As long as you specify when you're postponing it, it'll drop right back. It's a very neat motion. It'll drop right back onto the agenda again.
So you want me to make a motion, Mr. Parliamentarian, that we postpone action on item 6.2? That is my motion.
Until
the following meeting?
Yeah.
Until,
the
yes,
following meeting.
following meeting.
And then the chair will handle it, asking for discussion and amendments. That'll be the neatest, cleanest way to delay it. And it automatically drops right back into the agenda again.
So clarification on the next meeting, would that be the January 23rd or the February 3rd?
Yeah, that's the next question. I was
Yeah.
assuming,
February.
and always, number one Joe rule is never assume nothing.
Yes.
Because it always bites you. So whichever meeting you want to postpone it to, you hook a date to it.
It would have to be the school board meeting for public comment, correct?
I don't think it would be proper to do it during the work session, and I think we probably need the month to digest what this particular, I guess that's what's in play, is this particular hearing. So if you'd like to make the motion that it be postponed, you have.
I'm waiting for a second.
For the next regular meeting of the school board?
Next regular meeting, yes.
February 13th.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
A second by Mr. Street. I guess there's no discussion at this point, right?
You asked for discussion, but
Is there any discussion about why we shouldn't do it? Okay, hearing none. I guess we can, I agree, I guess we can vote. So the motion before us is that we take the item before us as a decision item to be postponed until our next regular school board meeting, which is, what date did you say it was, Dr. Shepherd?
February 13th.
13 February. All those in favor of postponing this decision until February 13th at the regular school board meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And so we will, we've received this particular, I'm sorry, I don't know what to call it, but hearing, or is it a hearing? Is it a?
No, it's a case.
The case.
It's actually a section by the United States District Court, Eastern District of Kentucky.
Okay.
So I will make this available to Ms. Jett.
All right, we're moving on to our next action agenda item. Help me out here, Mr. Vice, I'm lost my connectivity.
6.4, resolution on agent and deputy agent for examining and approving payment of claims.
Wait, did we skip 6.6?
Oh,
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no, no.
Yes.
6.3, proposed policy on prescription of disinformation concerning gender identity in Shenandoah County Public Schools.
And once again, Mrs. Carlenio has submitted this item, and so, Mrs. Carlenio, you're on.
Yes, and actually, I think we're gonna, if we may, I was gonna move to adopt the draft policy, the IMB, teaching about controversial issues as presented, which Dr. Shepherd had actually made available to us, because that way it kind of nests more easily into that's not the code, what is that? The manual, the policy manual for Shenandoah County. And this is just basically, I'll read it. It says that gender identity shall mean or refer to an individual's self-conception as a male, female, or blend of both or neither. Without limitation, gender identity shall be interpreted to mean the teaching of more than two genders or the ability to identify as a gender other than one's actual biological sex at birth. Shenandoah County Public Schools shall not provide or allow any employee or third party to provide instruction, guidance, activities, or programming regarding gender identity to students enrolled in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade And again, this kind of came about, we actually saw this as a board, there were some concerns brought to us by a constituent that they thought that they may having a teacher who was teaching this. In the end, it didn't, I'm not really sure, it didn't seem like there was something there, but we figured that it'd be prudent to go ahead and be avoid this issue from coming up in the future. With regards to, again, it's only regards to gender identity. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Comments?
And let me just kind of clarify, just to make sure that it was clear when I said this. The reason why we're doing the policy INB is because Dr. Shepard felt that this was better to put under the teaching about controversial issues section that we already have. So it just clarifies that one in particular, as opposed to having it in different sections.
All right, so I want to be clear that we have several draft policies in front of us, and the one that you are...
It's the one that Dr. Shepard provided to us, the second one, policy B.
Policy INB, teaching about controversial issues, and then the two paragraphs that you have under gender identity fall at the bottom of that existing policy.
Right.
In the way you're presenting it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, I don't know, do we need to read that entire policy, even the parts that were already there? Dr. Shepard, do you think we need to? Do you think we need that?
Okay, so Mrs. Carlenio has given a rationale for not amending, but expanding policy INB with this information about gender identity and the policy regarding not providing or allowing any employer or third party to provide instruction, guidance, activities, or programming regarding gender identity to students enrolled in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. That's the way it finishes up. So, any comments from school board members?
Just to be clear, that is under policy B.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay.
Are we ready for the question?
Pardon me, but I'm kind of lost in
Yeah,
section
help us out.
and Z and X and all this stuff. Do we have a motion?
No.
I don't think you got a motion.
I thought we got a motion.
I made the motion, because I think you made the motion, then I said, well, no, can we make the motion? Okay, well, I made the motion then.
Okay, I moved, all right.
Yeah,
I'm
I said
sorry.
I moved, yeah.
Okay.
All right, now we need a second.
All right, well, Ms. Carlenio, which motion? are
Yeah.
you making?
Yeah, it was the B.
I move to adopt draft policy B.
Yes.
INB.
Hold on, let me see. Language. Yeah, I moved to adopt policy B, INB, teaching about controversial issues.
So you officially made the motion?
I just made a motion.
Second?
Thank you.
And, sorry, so I'll go back to where we were. So is there any discussion at this point? With no discussion, then I think we're ready for a roll call vote.
Mr. Street?
Yes.
Ms. Carlenio?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Mr. Vance?
Yes.
Mr. Rickard?
Yes.
And Mr. Barlow?
Yes. So let the record indicate that was a unanimous vote. Is that the last of our action items? I can't find it. Which is it?
6.4, resolution on agent and deputy agent for example approving payment of claims.
Okay. There has been a vacancy in that slot. Mr. Vance today has kindly offered himself up to perform that role. I've indicated to the school board clerk that he will take that slot. And so I'm happy to welcome LV into that position to be working with Mr. Gutschall on those the budget items and approvals. So is there anything we further need to do on that? Do we have to? I guess we have to vote on that as well, correct? Okay, so
Make a motion.
yeah. So do I have a motion to accept Mr. Vance as the?
So the motion will have to include me as the agent and Mr. Vance as the deputy agent.
Okay.
I move to appoint Kyle Gutschall as the agent and Larry Vance as the deputy agent to examine and approve the school board bills and payroll.
Second.
Okay, thank you for that. No discussion?
Who seconded?
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Okay. And do you recommend a roll call vote for this?
Mr. Street?
Yes.
Ms. Carlinio?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Mr. Vance?
Yes.
Mr. Ricker?
Yes.
And Mr. Barlow?
Yes. Thank you for that. That takes us to the superintendent's monthly report.
Thank you. For the fifth straight month, we saw improvement in our attendance rates year over year with an overall attendance rate of 93.35% for the month of December, which is a 1.5 increase over December of 2024. Dr. Munson at the Strasburg High School Science Department held the annual science fair before break and had an impressive 33 entries, which is an increase over the previous year. Each student or group proudly displayed and explained their projects to the judges, who were impressed by their research and public speaking skills. Several of our FFA and FCCLA chapters participated in Wreaths Across America event in December. Wreaths Across America honors and remembers the brave men and women who have served our country by placing wreaths on their graves to express gratitude and ensure their sacrifices are never forgotten. And then after a strong fall season, several of our SCPS athletes were honored by the Northern Virginia Daily. Congratulations to Stonewall Jackson Jr. Aiden Springer on being named the Golfer of the Year, Strasburg Jr. Brady Knight on being named the Football Defensive Player of the Year, Strasburg Senior Taki Coates on being named the Co-Football Offensive Player of the Year, and Stonewall Jackson sophomore Marcus Boley on being named the cross-country runner of the year. I'll be happy to answer any questions. One last comment. I hope next week we are able to go to school every single day.
Those all the reports?
That's it, thank you.
Okay, good. All right. That takes us to board member comments. Who would like to kick off?
I'll go if you want.
Mike?
Only got two things, well, three, I guess. I like hearing about those Rams, Takai Coates and Brady Knight. Way to go, guys. Excellent football season. People had been reaching out to me yesterday about this Power School data breach. Are we aware of any breaches that affected our students or staff?
We are aware of data breaches. We have been informed by our attorney that they are going to share information with us tomorrow that we will be able to share with our community.
Thank you for that, Dr. Shepherd. Also, I would like us, this 10% attendance rule, it's still been on my mind. I'd like to bring that forward for the board to discuss again. Maybe put some clauses in there if the student has, you know, a C average, or a B average, whatever. I think we need to set a standard in there, because back in our day of going to school, our parents reached out to the teachers, got our assignments. We did them if we were sick. We stayed up to par on our studies. To me, sending a kid to school for an extra 2 hours one day a week to make up a missed day because they unfortunately had strep throat or whatever. I think we need some standards there, because if you've got a straight A student that is completely up to par on their studies and are not behind, it's not benefiting us any, and the school board office has told us that it doesn't equate to any kind of money from the state. To me, I think we need to look at that again, revisit that, because I really don't like the fact that we're penalizing kids and they're having to miss dances or whatever it may be because they unfortunately got sick and they were in the hospital for a few days or whatever. I'd like to bring that forward again for us to talk about at our next meeting. Other than that, at the clock, I'm liking the time. Good job, board members. Happy New Year to our staff. Hopefully you enjoyed your 3rd week off for Christmas break. Hopefully you got some extra time to relax and enjoy it. Other than that, thank you, school board office. Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. Appreciate all that you do.
Madam Superintendent, with regard to school closing, I've been asked to channel compliments to you on the fact that you call school off in many cases the night before. And it certainly is a relief to the folks responsible for their kids. And as I said to you, I guess yesterday, I know your phone is ringing off the hook. Boy, that's an old expression, ringing off the hook. The parents who are crying for school to start again.
Welcome back, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's great to be back. We have a lot of ideas and things that we still have to work on. Thank you for everyone who's here and for the staff and everything that you guys have been doing. As you guys know, we had a meeting last night where we had our new chairman, new old chairman and vice chair elected. It was a very, very short meeting, even shorter than this one, but it is televised. I actually wish I had been able to call in by Zoom, because I think it took me longer to drive from Fort Valley to here and then back than it was to actually be in the meeting. But yeah, it was an interesting meeting, and we had the chairman's election. I had actually run for that, so it was a 4-2 vote that I lost. But one of the reasons that I wanted to run, and I talked about some of them, so if you go look at the televised version, you can see everything that I talked about. But there were a few issues that I actually brought up that I wanted to see us work on. Some of them I've been talking about before. And the first one is the charter schools. I think we have a great opportunity here in Shenandoah County to get some charter schools. Dr. Shepherd and I have been talking about this for the last month or so. And after we went to the SBMA convention, they were talking about how there's a lot of funds available both statewide and also nationwide for these charter schools. So I would definitely like to see that. And also, one of the things that I would like to see is the leadership of this board look into is getting more grants and money to come here to Shenandoah County. Alternate methods of funding, because as we know, we don't have the budgets that Loudoun County and Fairfax and everybody else has. So it would be great to start looking into that, especially as we look at down the barrel at the elementary school, almost at capacity. We have 2 of them that are almost at capacity right now, and yet at the same time we want to look into the triplet. So I was very happy to, and one more thing, I also wanted to look into our board meetings, and that's one of the things that I wanted to talk at. Hopefully with when we talk about the board norms, we can talk a little bit more about that to streamline the processes a little bit more so they're clear to all the school board members. So I was very happy to hear that Mr. Barlow came to me after the meeting yesterday and said that he thought that some of those points were really important to him as well. The charter school, the getting money and all that. So I really look forward to see what Mr. Barlow and Mr. Gottschall can help us with that. Hopefully Mr. Gottschall's finance background will help us get some more money here to Shenandoah County. So I wish you both the best of luck with that. I know there's a very small window of time if we're trying to get this done before Youngkin leaves the office, so we pretty much have to do that in the next few weeks, a few months. So it's going to be busy, but I look forward to seeing what they have, they bring to us with regards to that. Personally, I can tell you that I'm going to continue getting involved and hopefully grow in the mental health task force, because I think we have some great opportunities there, and we're now starting to get students also involved, which opens our minds in terms of what are they thinking about and what their worries are. And we have some members who are looking into also getting grants, so that would be really, really helpful for us. In terms of the school board itself, Mr. Ricker and I are going to be getting to work very soon on the personnel committee. I'm hoping that maybe we can do the same thing we did last year and go through all the different campuses and listen to the staff and to the teachers and what their concerns are. Maybe see if some of the changes that we were able to implement this last year have helped. And the other one that I do want to work on a lot is on the curriculum and the instructional. And when I'm talking about that, it's not just the politics of it. What I would like to hear is what areas are could we improve in? And sometimes it's not even necessarily the instruction itself, but what skills our kids are or not learning. I want to see how much they're really reading, how much are they writing, are they taking notes? Those kind of skills that they're going to need. So I'm even thinking I may even call for meetings with parents and at the school so we can hear their feedback and hear from you guys in the community what you think we're doing well or what you think we're not doing well, what do we need to improve. And I think this is the kind of approach that we need to take in order to improve our education. Because some of us, those of us who are a little bit older, were raised a certain way, and there were certain skills that we had to learn. And I know for a fact, just from my kids who, one of them graduated just less than 2 years ago, a lot of those skills are not being enforced. And not just Shenandoah County. I want to make sure that people understand when I'm talking about that. I'm talking nationwide. This is a trend that we've been seeing. And a lot of it got worse since COVID. So that's one thing we definitely want to do. And the other thing that I wanted to do as well is get more parents involved. One of the problems that we have right now is that parents are less and less involved every year. And in fact, we have a big problem that most of our schools don't even have PTAs. Or the PTAs that they have may have only 2 or 3 people. And we know that a lot of the things that happen in a school happen because of the parents. I can tell you in the past, when I was involved in schools, some of those PTAs were able to fund HVAC systems for the schools, or they were able to buy all the smart boards for the teachers. So there's a lot of things that we need parents to get involved. And I think since COVID, it's been a trend, but since COVID, it's gotten a lot worse. So I want anybody who wants to work with this and help me out. I know that the school division has been trying a lot of programs over the years, and parents are just not coming. So we need to figure out how we can get these parents involved, again, in their students' lives and their students' education. So that's it for me.
Tom, anything?
Yes, sir. Anyway, I'd like to really, the students that Dr. Shepard pointed out as far as their compliments to individuals in the sports, congratulations to them again. But also I know it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. We all wanted it to, but the Strasburg football team, you really need to be proud of yourselves. I'm very proud of you for going to the state championships. And even though that some of us weren't there, we were listening to the radio, but very proud of you all for your season. So you need to be proud of yourself, and good job for being there. Also, thank you to Colonel Barlow, Mr. Gutshaw, Mr. Vance for the library, looking into the library books. That takes a lot of time. And, you know, I would have never thought that would be an issue in the school system. You know, back when I was in Ashby and they would read Stuart Little and Charlotte's Web to us, I never thought we would have to be very concerned of what's in the shelves there in the library. So thank you for that time. I agree with Mike. The attendance policy does bother me a little bit, even though attendance is very important. I support it. It is very important, but there has been some situations where I do believe there's certain situations where it maybe should be a little changes that common sense kind of plays a role also. Anyway, that's all I have, and also thank you to the staff and all the hard work that everybody does, and the teachers, the faculty, coaches, and everybody. Thank you, and we're halfway through a year, and look forward to the rest of the school year. That's all I have, Colonel Barlow.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, like others have pointed out, Ms. Carlinio in particular, you know, we have a lot to do over the next year. I think if we can work as a board, we can accomplish a lot of good things. You all bring up a good point with the attendance. That's something that, you know, we can definitely look at. Like Mr. Street said, attendance is very important, so we need to make sure we continue to prioritize that. But at the same time, we have to make sure that it makes sense and common sense prevails in this case. So hopefully we can, as a board, take a look at that as we look at other things moving forward. And hopefully next week we can get the new semester started.
The two things that uppermost in my mind right now are, one is the fact that we're entering on the budget season, and we've looked at some major issues that are confronting us in terms of health and wellness in our schools, and remediation of physical problems, plans for elementary schools in the future, and the building or renovation of and upgrade of our CTE program. All of those things have a lot to do with the budget, and the budget is one of the things that we really are here to do. And so I hope we find time to concentrate on one of those things that are really in the wheelhouse of what the responsibility of the school board is, and take a look at those issues and try to figure out how we're going to divide up limited resources to most efficiently accomplish those three, not three goals, but those three categories. In terms of, if you will, political or some of the things that deal with the transgender thing, I actually do think that we've turned a big corner. I believe that the American public, as well as Shenandoah County, has had enough of this foolishness. I just don't want us to overreact to it. We've got it on the run, and I think it's under control. My concern, major concern, is still in the realm of athletics. And I believe that we need to work with either the other counties or associations that can help us either impact the Virginia High School League or the educational system through Richmond, so that we can bring some common sense back to keeping guys from participating in girls' sports, to put it most succinctly. So I hope we as a board will take a look at impact that we as a single school board could have in kind of moving that one along. So I want to reemphasize to us, each of us, to take the budget and competing budget requirements seriously, and take a look at them, and more culturally, if you will, take a look at our sports policy for our young ladies and our young men. So with that, we'll ask for a move that we adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Just one thing.
Go ahead.
All of our staff that worked over the Christmas break at Sandy Hook Elementary School to straighten that up. Danny Orts, you and your guys, hats off to you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mike. Okay, Mr. Gutschall, go for it.
I move to adjourn.
Motion for adjournment, second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Rickard, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:33. I was gonna